Good morning. On today's WOTWIP and coffee, I'm drinking coffee without a straw, which I don't normally do. So, I want to thank you for joining me. I am working on squares for Billy. Crafty fluiding. Right now I'm using the Christmas colors. So I'm working on those. That's what I'll be working on today while I am crocheting. As you know, yesterday I had my tooth pulled, or Wednesday yesterday. See how time flies when you're having fun? Not. Anyway, here's a picture of me looking stupid. Had to walk around with that gauze for an hour. And of course had to go to Walmart to get a couple of things. Which one of those was sea salt to do the salt rinses. You know, the saline rinses. And of course, while I was there, I had also had a tooth on the bottom that was filled. So the tooth is on the top that was removed, pulled, the one that broke, which was my crown. And I thought it was the crown fell out, but oh no! The tooth actually broke off. So, of course, they scheduled to have it removed. I opted not to do the graft like the doctor wanted to do. And part of that is because, you know, doing a lot of research about this amyloidosis business and everything else. And when I talked with the cardiologist, she suggested waiting on the graft because if I do decide to have dental implants done later, you can always put the graft in at a later date, you know, under anesthesia and for the implants. So, and of course, dentists nowadays are recommending instead of dentures that you get the implants. So there's that. But with this diagnosis with the amyloidosis, you know, depending on the medication that they do, that kind of thing, depends on what your lifetime expectation is. Which honestly, everything that I'm finding for those that are diagnosed early, like I am, the diagnosis is 5 to 8 years, 10 years with medication before you go into almost complete heart failure. Unless, of course, you have a heart transplant. And, of course, then the heart transplant, there are other issues with that. You know, the rejection and all kinds of fun stuff. So, you know, I'm looking at those kind of things, too. And, of course, the insurance does not want to pay for my, the heart scan. And it is a nuclear medicine scan. It's a little bit more than just a CAT scan of the heart. Because what they're doing is they're looking at all sorts of sides images, those kind of things with that heart issue, so that they can do what they call the stage of the disease. And that way they know how to treat it, best treat it at that point to hopefully keep you from going into further into cardiac distress or issues. But, you know, she did tell me most people, I mean, I'm asymptomatic, and that most people that present with this are already in the end stage of it, and their prognosis is maybe, you know, 6 to 8 months to a year possibly. So, you know, there's looking at that, and that's a little bit on the morbid side, but sometimes you have to look at those kind of things when you're facing issues. So, it is what it's going to be, and Lord willing, I'll have another 20 years, so not too worried about that right now. And, yeah, that was rather interesting. And, of course, like I said, I had to go to Walmart because I had to get some sea salt for the salt soda, saline rinses. So you can avoid, hopefully, getting dry socket. But had to walk around with that gauze in my mouth for a full hour afterwards. So I'm in Walmart, and of course, little kids are looking at you like, what are you doing with that hanging out of your mouth? And this one little girl was just staring away. And finally she goes, what happened? I said, I had to have a tooth pulled. So when you need to remember, you need to brush your teeth every day like your mom and dad tell you to do. Take good care of your teeth. So it was a little bit of a learning lesson. But then as I'm walking past, there's this one woman. She walks up to me and she goes, can I give you a hug? I said, sure. She gave me a hug and she goes, having a tooth pulled sucks, doesn't it? I said, yeah, it does. And she proceeded to tell me that she had all of her upper teeth removed. She had 2 teeth that she had fallen in an accident, riding the horses and falling off the horse or something. Got thrown, who knows. And it broke off her 2 front teeth. And then she had a couple of the other issues with her teeth and whatnot. So her and the dentist had talked, and they decided that it was just better to pull all the teeth because of the gum disease she had, some of the other issues. And so now she's getting used to wearing dentures. And I said, I couldn't even tell you had dentures. I said, so your dentist did a good job with you. She goes, yeah, she thought about getting the implants. And the doctor told her they could always do those later on, because they are expensive. And unless you have a pretty good dental program, insurance, you're going to front the cost for most of it. So, yeah. So we talked about that a little bit and hugged each other, and she went on her way and I went on my way. And then I had prayer shawl after that. And of course, Pastor was giving me a hard time about not being able to talk well, because the mouth was stupid numb. And they kept asking me questions. And she came by and she said, oh, I hate to tell you what kind of special hell you're going to have with lunch. They provide lunch when we come. And normally the cook has been making soup for lunch, with, extra things like little salads and stuff like that on the side, and chips. And of course, she always does a cake, some kind of fancy dessert. And she said, I tell you the kind of hell you're going to have eating. She said, I know you were probably expecting soup. I said, I was looking forward to soup. She said, well, she doesn't have soup today. She has sandwiches. So there was ham salad, which, I could eat without a bread. That was fine. She had a cucumber salad. It was really good. Of course, she had some fresh fruit and cheeses there, and a bologna that you could take if you wanted to make a sandwich with bologna. She also had something that was called guacamole salad, but it had eggs in it, chopped up eggs, and it was pretty good, so I could eat that separate. And of course, then the dessert was a lemon cake, and I muddled my way through that. So she was teasing me about that, and I said, I don't know what you're worried about. I can find something to eat. So, yeah, it was interesting. And of course, they kept asking questions, and which is normal when I'm at prayer shawl, because there are a lot of people that are asking me questions about how to do this and, sizes for blankets and all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm like, we've given out gals sheets with a notebook for them to take and put all these things with. And I'm sure a lot of them just poo-pooed that and didn't think about those kind of things. And I'm like, well, whatever. I keep a notebook that I have. It is probably about a 2-inch notebook, and it has certain hat patterns I do all the time, gloves, shawls, some standard blankets that I make, like when you do a ripple blanket, I have the instructions for that. And I also have instructions in there on how to join the squares together if you've done granny squares, those kind of things. And, certain baby sweaters that I like to do when I make them, those kind of things. So I have it all in one place, but I also have a guideline that I have set there that has the guidelines for all the different organizations that we donate to. And we had created that and given it out to the ladies. We had also given them one of those poly binder folders that they could put the patterns in if they wanted to. And, they all took them. Of course, I'm sure they're like a lot of us. They lose track of the notebook or don't put it someplace where they use all the time. Also, it had comfort dolls, how to make comfort dolls, those kind of things. And so, yeah. But they still continue to ask me those questions where, and that's understandable. I mean, they're used to me being the one that leads them, and when they ask the other girls, they have no clue. Now, I have provided all that documentation to them. They could easily have it handy and ready each meeting. They don't. So, always find that interesting. What do you want, Miss Izzy? But, yeah. And then on top of that, still packing everything up here, getting ready for a possible move shortly, that kind of stuff. That has been a royal joy. I have found things that I was like, I don't know why I kept this. And it generally just goes into a box to go to Goodwill. Somebody else's treasure, that kind of thing. Yeah. Of course, the cats have been having fun. I don't think there's a box they haven't been in. There's an open box. They think it's open territory, and they'll hop into it. So that's been rather funny to watch them playing and, acting up and being silly, that kind of thing. So, of course, they all think that they're helping, and they're really not. But, yeah. And it's been, like I said, it's been fun going through some of the things that I've found, those kind of things. Getting rid of certain things, targeted things that I've given away. Thomas had one of the Nintendo 3DS XL with about probably 15 games in it. I did sell that. Got rid of it, so because I don't play, Game Boy. I'm trying to find the cords to the PS4, so that I can put that up for sale. And that in itself has been interesting because I think I told you I'd asked them not to take apart the TV, move the TV, that kind of thing, that I would move it later. But the men took it apart, and one of the gals was helping, and she took all the cords off of everything and rolled them up, put them into a bag, and some of those cords she put in another bag, and I still haven't found that bag. Now, they were being helpful, so, you can't really complain too much about it, but I'm the type of person, when I move something like that, I leave the basic cords that go to the, like the DVD. I would leave the cord that's attached to it to plug it into the wall. I would leave the things that attach to the boxes, cable boxes, those kind of things, whatever, attached, because that's me. But other people do it other ways, and she thought she was helping, and she was at the time, so there's that. But yeah, it's been rather interesting. And then I found a box that I realized I hadn't gone through since my daughter passed away. And it had a lot of things that I had taken from her home, memorabilia type things. So that whole box is filled with that. And that was kind of emotional to open up that box and see that there. But it's now been tagged and, closed it off, added pictures and things like that. And her school book, her yearbook from high school, those kind of things, been added to that box. So it's a good, memory to go down that memory lane there. But yeah, it's been rather interesting finding things and certain things I have no idea why I kept. And of course, I've been going through a lot of different books that I've had, magazines. I had tended to keep all of my crochet books, crochet magazines, because I like, every once in a while, it's nice to go back and look through them. And now I'm looking at them thinking, I don't know why I kept them. I haven't made anything out of them. Might as well get rid of them. That in itself is another chore. So, it's just been a lot of craziness going on, And I had a little bit of a laugh. I had the fellow that owns this development had sent me a letter telling me that I had broken the conservation rules or some kind of nonsense, with the erosion effort. Now, I know I told you a couple of months back, he came through and put all those concrete pylons down there. And then he made the contractor come in and actually dig a ditch that kind of goes around the front of the house for drainage. And he's claiming that I have broken those rules and caused erosion from that. I called him up yesterday and I said, actually, you're the one that caused the erosion. The creek has always run down this side without a drainage going to it. It ran across the road. It has always done that. It did that before I moved in, before we built this house. But you're the one that determined that there had needed to be a ditch dug around there. And that ditch has caused erosion. So, actually, I should be the one, I should be suing you for causing that, instead of you coming at me telling me that I need to fix that. You caused it. You're the one that did that without my permission, without talking to me beforehand. You did that on your own. So don't come at me now. You know, you did that. You caused it. And he sat back and, you know, he told me, he said, yeah, I guess I did. I don't know why I thought I should blame you for it. And I said, well, because that's the way things work nowadays, isn't it? Everyone wants to blame somebody else for causing whatever. You caused it, you fix it. You know, because beforehand, it did that. It done that for the past 100 and something years. The family owned this. That their family owned this mountain and what they've turned into Linwood Acres. So, you know, sometimes you can't fix stupid. And I told him, I said, I have a letter from the conservation stating that what we had done is perfectly fine for this issue. You're the one that changed it up. You did that on your own. You didn't do that with my permission. You did it. You contacted the contractor and had him come do that. This is on you. It's not on me. You fix it. You caused the problem. You fix it. And he kind of sat back and, like I said, he agreed he had caused the issue, so he needs to fix it. So that's been rather interesting. And I did have the conservation come out, and because we've been talking about this, you know, me cutting back the bamboo and everything else. So I had asked them to come out, you know, to give me recommendations on what to do concerning that, which they did, and they told me, they straight out told me that if this had been left the way that it was to begin with, the bamboo still would have probably come in with the birds, and it just takes over. It's invasive. That the owner of the property in itself had done nothing to stop that. So, you know, and there's been some plants that have just cropped up on their own, which, you know, this guy doesn't like the fact that they're up there and they're flowers. You know, they're mountain laurel, there's certain things like that. And technically, you're not supposed to cut those, trim those. You know, if you follow the state rules. So they're sending him a letter, you know, to discuss that, about that mountain laurel and some of those other things, they're protected by the state, and I actually have to request permission to trim, to cut them, and to dispose of them. In other words, to kill it, take it out of the ground. So they have sent him a letter telling him that they have not approved that. They have to have a meeting about it to determine if it's okay to do that, or whether they want me to transplant it someplace else. It's just crazy. It's what it is, crazy. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on here this week in Crazy Town. That's why I'm beginning to think it is just plain Crazy Town. You know, no quick answers or anything else like that. So yeah, it's been, like I said, it's been an interesting week. So what are you guys working on this week? I have continued to work on that moss in the round blanket that I'd started, because I do enjoy it and I think it's nice. I had someone ask me what that stitch was, and I said, well, I know someone in the past had stated to me it's considered a stadium blanket stitch, because what you would normally do is when you went to football games, you would do it row by row instead of in the round. Moss stitch is what the blanket is made of, and they generally called it a stadium blanket. And I think the first pattern someone said that they know of was like 1939, that the moss stitch had been nicknamed stadium blanket. So who knows? Who knows? Nobody knows where some of these stitches were created and who named them. And of course, there's a lot of names for all kinds of things. Lemon peel to God knows what. But yeah, it's been rather interesting. It's been a lot of fun doing it. I have been enjoying it. It is a very mindless crochet. So, yeah. And it gives me an opportunity to use up those two beautiful skeins that I had gotten at Scraps and Skeins, as well as some of these leftover ones that I had from that painted honeycomb blanket. Now, that was one thing they had asked because everything I make generally goes to charity. And that was one of the things that someone had asked me about, was that blanket when I had finished it and turned it in. Because it is reversible. It's two blankets in one. And they'd asked how it was done. And I said, you'd be really surprised. I said, it's very simple. It's mostly double crochets, chains, and a single crochet. It's not anything fancy. You just do part of it in the front part and the colors in the back loop, and then every third row you join them. The color with the white, you join it together with a single crochet. Very simple. Oh look, I have an alarm going off. Forgot to turn it off. So, and my throat's a little scratchy today. A lot of that has to do with, from the filling yesterday, because of course you're getting to inhale everything that they're sanding off, since they do that like a porcelain that they cure for a lot of fillings nowadays. And of course, you're inhaling some of that, so it's a little bit on the scratchy side because of it. And I need to finish off this round because I don't think I have enough to do another round. Although I do have more red over here. Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and do another round. We'll figure out what happens next. If I don't have enough to go all the way around, I'll have to join in a color, which that'll be fine. Finish this last round on this. And I tend to use the magic knot nowadays when I join in colors. I used to do a variation on a Russian join and crochet it in, and I'll show you what it mainly amounts to. If I can find the center of this one, which I didn't put in a bead, so finding the center is going to be a little on the challenging side, and there it is. And basically what you would do is, in a Russian join, you would actually take this thread here, the shorter end, you would weave it into this part here. Like I was saying, you would weave it into the working yarn, weave this into the yarn that you're starting to join. But if you just take it and leave it this way and start crocheting it in, then once you've got it finished crocheting, you can take and cut the tail off that's not, that doesn't get crocheted in on both of those ends, and it just stays. I mean, there is no weaving in your ends. There is no issue with it coming undone because the way that it's worked into your project. So, and I've used that for many years too. So it just kind of depends, because I go back and forth on using those different ways. Although lately I've gotten to where I use a magic knot. It works just as good. I've never had it come undone through multiple washings, and generally it gets hidden well into the project, so you don't have to do a lot of weaving in, those kind of things. But yeah, I'm not going to have enough to finish the round, so I will have to join in just a bit. So I'm going to set this aside so I can join that in to finish that round. Just go ahead and start with some green squares. I'm going to cut that part off because it's a little screwed up and I just don't want to mess with it. But yeah, that's what's been going on here. And it's been a lot of fun messing with this kind of stuff. Fighting with these people. Of course, I do like a good insurance fight, so now I'm fighting with my insurance about paying for that stupid test. And it shouldn't be, there's a part of me that goes, you shouldn't have to go through this nonsense. And it's not like the tests don't already show that that's exactly what's going on. I don't have the AL version of amyloidosis. I have what's called the ATTR version. Which just means I don't have certain proteins floating around in my bloodstream, which is a good thing, and it's a little bit easier to treat with some other medications. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. Getting all that done, getting the final diagnosis and the staging. And the staging is very important for diagnosing what stage you're in, and so that they can determine what medications to treat it with. What things are they going to do? Are they going to put in a pacemaker? Are they going to do this? Going to do that? And I seriously think that I am very far from pacemaker, which I'm sure a lot of the oral medications can work. If you just get a stupid insurance company to approve the test to do the staging of the disease process. And the only thing that I'm glad of is that they are now finding this out. Like I said, they used to only find this on autopsy. So that is an excellent thing in itself. Finding out that, yeah, you can find these out long before you're dead. So, give yourself a little longer life. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. The cats are having fun participating in packing the boxes. The only thing that I need to make sure of is that when I do put the tape on to close the boxes up, that there is no cat in it. So, yeah. All right, guys, I think I have chatted on long enough, so I am going to let you go, and I will see you again soon. Everybody have a great week. Bye.